Welcome back to another GCH Off-Ice interview series. This one we have a very, very special guest. He's the Duster Dude, the Steel City Shockwave Sniper, Mathew Flannery. Matt, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Jake. You're pumping my tires a little bit too much. I wouldn't go as much as a sniper since I play defense. So a goal every now and then, I'll take it for what it's worth.
So, Matt, you're probably one of the members of Grove City Hockey that has the most playing experience. I know, like, one of our biggest markets is broadcasting MIHA. You have some experience in that. Do you have any good hockey stories you want to share with the group?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost with MIHA, it's a really great way to play competitive hockey. Whether if it's, if you're going to college, playing in college, whether if it's after high school, just anywhere into your adulthood where you're still looking to get that competitive feel, has that really fun aspect. You're going away for a weekend more times than not. You're traveling to a different city, different state and stuff like that. You're getting away with the boys, finding good places to eat, good camaraderie. Just it's an all around fun trip. But with the league in and of itself, it is a great way to keep, furthering and progressing playing hockey, after, these opportunities at younger ages, whether if it's high school, college, whatever it may be, it's a great way to keep moving forward with it into your adult years.
So, one of the things that I always question, and maybe you can add some insight onto this, is what is your experience and what is the difference really for you playing something like Maha, which is a reoccurring tournament, or playing some of the just one and done tournaments like Echo and State Wars and Narch and stuff like that?
It's interesting you bring that up. I think it has a really unique feeling. In the weekend in and of itself, I think they're all pretty similar because they're all still tournament style formats. So you are playing your round robin games, you are going into a playoff bracket, and you are playing for, these other traveling tournaments. It is essentially like a regional or, some form of championship. With MIHA, there is a championship at the end of the weekend. But with MIHA, everything builds up into your season that the more you're playing these playoff games, make it to championships, it's furthering your progression in the standings to rank higher, making that potential chance for playoffs and all that. So I think that's the really unique part of it is that, you're not going away like, whereas I played in college, you're going away playing 3 or 4 regular season games a weekend. At the end of it, it does really matter. You do want to win all those games, but I think it adds a little bit more of that competitive edge to where you are essentially playing for something every weekend. Um, you know, so that way, kind of gets you in a little bit more competitive spirits, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting to see how these different tournaments work and the diversity of the rules that change between these tournaments. I think even like going back to like you mentioned playing in college, some of like the roster rules are so different between these tournaments and playing college hockey. You have any like experience with like the college hockey stories or anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, with college hockey, I think a lot of it is pretty linear. Like I said, where you are traveling more times than not to, like I said, either different cities, different states. Pretty much, with any team that any of us, any of you guys that are watching that we have played on, essentially you just become a tight knit group. Essentially, like everyone thinks of each other as family. So while you're on the rink, while you're off the rink, you're bound to have a good time no matter what. Whether if it's in the hotel room, just shooting it with the fellas, finding good places to eat, gelling on the rink, having fun competing and all that. I really think that's honestly, at least for me, I'd hope that it'd be the same for most people where, the true enjoyment is the experience of the entire weekend, both on and off the
Mhm.
rink.
Yeah. So the other thing that about college hockey that at least when I played college hockey, we had a coach. We never had a coach when we played any of these tournaments. Talk about your coach and some of the stories and the mentorship that he'd brought to you.
I would say probably my biggest takeaway, Coach McHugh, for Slippery Rock University for the couple years that I played. No matter what, he said, if you're not having fun, then what is the point of playing? So that's kind of something that I always took to that, you're not going to win every game. Some games you might get blown out. Some games you might be the team to blow out the other team. Those games might not be as fun, but one way or another, trying to make the most of it, trying to have fun because it is a sport, it is a game at the end of the day. That's kind of one of the things that helping out coaching with our Grove City youth program, that is kind of something that I usually try to preach to all the kids that, we do want to win, we do want to progress, we do want to get better. But at the end of the day, if you're not having fun, that kind of defeats the purpose of playing, in my opinion.
Mhm. You mentioned the youth hockey, and one of the things that a lot of people don't know about you is you're actually involved in two different youth programs. The one here in Grove City, and then also the one over in Newcastle. There's some unfortunate times with the Newcastle rink, but it seems like there's a sunrise getting ready to come up. You want to tell me a little bit about what's going on over in Newcastle and how the GCH boys can help you out?
Yeah, so it is an unfortunate circumstance with it's a outdoor deck rink where they do both roller foot hockey. Back in its heyday, they would have maybe up to 30 teams combined for adult between both roller and foot. They would have like a little Penguins youth learn to play program and stuff like that. Unfortunately, over the years, there has been a downfall in participation and all that to the point where the leagues basically almost became non-existent here for a short period of time. But there is a sunrise coming up to where there is potential new ownership to revamp the rink and hopefully bring it back to life, bring it back to its heydays to where we do have, countless teams playing, building that community where you're having fun, getting out after work, getting that exercise in. And then ultimately, back to the youth program, getting these kids involved at a young age, because that unfortunately was something that I personally wasn't really exposed to. I tend to get into playing at a little bit of an older age. So you get these kids started at a younger age, they get a little bit better, a little bit more competitive. That kind of helps them to stick with it. And, the lesson is to, have fun. The focus isn't winning at a young age. So you tell them, hey, learn, have fun with it. And as you progress and get older, that's when you'll get more competitive, you'll get a little bit more, edgy with it and stuff like that. So I think really that, community of youth hockey is where, that needs to be the groundwork.
When we talk about youth hockey, it's so important, and a lot of rinks out there are having a similar problem. What are some of the recruitment efforts that you saw out of Newcastle that could be used at other arenas?
I mean, something that was kind of similar as to what we do with our Grove City program, where there is opportunities to rent the gear. It is a little bit hard. I personally kind of know this experience coming from a family that really didn't have the money. That was also kind of the reason why I didn't get started playing until an older age, to where I needed to be able to afford the equipment myself to play. Whereas if you have this exposure to be able to, either rent it, use it for free, that way you make sure the kid develops the love of the sport, is going to have that commitment to the sport before you make that financial commitment. I think that is probably one of the bigger aspects, as well as just like kind of like the rink time, the rink access in it of itself, as compared to like ice hockey, whereas it's going to be significantly cheaper because you don't have the cost to upkeep, maintain ice, all the overhead costs that come with an ice rink. You really don't have a lot of that with these roller rinks.
Lastly, before we end the show here, one of the things that I've noticed about you is your friendships that you have through inline hockey. You have friends all over the place, all over the world that you've grown up playing or you've played in some walks of life. What does it speak to about the hockey community, about being able to keep those relationships strong and keeping those friendships growing over time?
I honestly just think it's like a bond of brotherhood. It's to even go beyond that and say it's the family aspect, to where, once you develop that bond with those who you're sharing the tile with, playing with, and against, I think that bond, it's hard to break. I have friends that, 4 or 5 years ago, graduating college from, every year we get together and play state wars with. So, my buddy, Funyak, he's been to Michigan. He lived there for a little bit. He's up with the Syracuse Crunch, being an athletic trainer and stuff like that. So people like that, it's kind of far and few in between when we get to see each other, unfortunately. But due to this bond that we've built, in college and everything, playing hockey together, just in general, we always get back together and try to make that time that, yeah, we're getting together to play tournaments and stuff like that. But also at the end of the day, the biggest part is just, getting together with brothers, getting together with family, spending time, catching up, seeing how each other's doing. That's honestly, to me personally, that's probably the biggest part of it for me.
Well, unfortunately, Flan, we are almost out of time. One more quick question before we leave. You obviously have a lot of player experience. We asked this to everybody. Would you, if you had to, would you rather play offhanded or with your skates untied, and why?
Well, I think you already know I have a muffin of a shot to begin with. I think skating is probably one of my only better, in quotation, attributes. So I think I'll keep the skating and keep the muffin of a shot, just with an opposite hand.
Well, it couldn't be any worse than it already is. Quick dig to end the show here. I apologize for the crudeness, but I got to get my laughs in every once in a while. Flan, we thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it immensely. Make sure you guys continue to check out the Grove City Hockey broadcast. All of those low action shots in the corner. That's the man, the myth, the legend right here to my left. So we appreciate it as always. And real quick before we sign off, any last things for the Grove City Hockey community?
just be sure to like and subscribe. I mean, stuff like that, as little as it may be, it goes a long way for us. So it'd be a huge favor if you go to our social medias, Facebook, YouTube, just make sure you like and subscribe. Follow along for the journey as we try to build this sport and make it better.
Well, we thank you again, once again, Matt, and make sure you like and subscribe this video. Check out our other off-ice interviews. We have a ton of content coming out in the next couple of months. And that's been Grove City Hockey Off-Ice Interview. We'll see you next time.